out during its nationwide broadcast before the Nigerian Labour went on their protest. The number to call is 0700 1021 1021. That is 0700 1021 1021. You can send in WhatsApp message to our WhatsApp line on 0907 224 5018 0907 224 5018. So, this selection process about this manufacturing companies that the government is going to give 75 billion. How do you see that?
Well, like I said, they've not given us a breakdown of how it will be done.
Yep.
But I expect it to be very transparent.
Okay.
So that we know who is getting what, how, and every other thing behind it, including the working capital funding.
Okay.
Why are you giving working capital to this company and not this other company? We need to see and know. And like I said, normally when you say, oh, Krumale, I want to give you 5,000 naira. Why? Because I know you have, sorry, okay, I want to give you 5 billion naira.
Thank you very much.
Because I know you have a family of 200, unlike Titi, who has just 10 people. So by the time I give you 5 billion, more people will be fed than giving Titi that just have a smaller family. Those kind of transparency, that's what I mean.
The number of
the effect,
staff strength of that manufacturing company.
And by giving you 5 billion, it is so that you can produce another 200 children based on what you already. We now know this is why. So if it can be made that transparent, for everybody to know who, and also the people behind those companies being funded, then I think to some extent we will be making a very good progress.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's go to the MSMEs support. Now, recognizing the vital role of MSMEs in job creation and economic growth, the government has introduced measures to improve access to finance for these enterprises. This includes financing in the sum of 125 billion to be allocated to MSMEs and the informal sector. Under this agreement, 1 million micro small businesses will get a total of 50 billion naira between now and next March. President Tinubu said his administration aims to grant 50,000 naira each to the 774 local governments. Is that 50,000 naira?
50,000 naira each to nano companies spread across the 774 local governments.
Yes, we saw that of manufacturing, going with a chunk of 75 billion. MSMEs with 125 billion. What's your take about the disparity of the money amount and how? Where would you place MSMEs and where would you place manufacturing? Which one is superior?
If we look at a bowl, the manufacturing and we want to fill it with rocks, the manufacturing are the big rocks.
Okay.
While the MSMEs are the tiny, tiny pieces of sand that fill the rest. And in Nigeria, over 50%.
Sorry, please, could you repeat that?
Okay. I said if we have a bowl and we want to fill the bowl with rocks, you have the big rocks and you have the small ones and also the ones that are sand, like sand.
Yes.
The nano MSMEs are those sand and tiny, tiny, negligible businesses.
Okay.
While the SMEs are now the small rocks.
Okay.
Then the manufacturing companies are all the big rocks that seem to take up all the space. But at the end of the day, they take little space compared to the MSMEs.
Okay.
So providing a 125 billion, which is almost twice what the manufacturing is getting, is reasonable.
Okay.
One. Then two, granting 50,000 to each of them is a good starting point.
The nano businesses.
Yes.
So if we're to give them a real picture of the nano business, we talked about the woman who fried bean cake at the side of the road.
Yes.
Okay.
The granite seller moving down the road, or the bread seller that is hawking bread down the road, because 50,000 naira would reasonably increase such businesses.
Okay.
And as is a grant, we know that the focus is not on funding, the focus is on structuring the business to scale.
Okay.
So that once that 50,000 has structured them in such a way that they can scale, then the next thing is to now giving them a more reasonable amount on a higher commercial level. So that is okay. It's a good plan and is a good move, really.
Okay.
Yes, for the MSME sector.
Okay.
But now my worry is in that second level of those that are getting between 500,000 and 1 million.
Yes.
how, who, where, it still needs to be a transparent process. And then I don't expect it to be too cumbersome.
Okay, so the nature of that business between 500,000 to 1 million, is the nature of such business and their capacity to rejig and have touch the country in a way that influence it economically to remove joblessness from the streets. The nature of those business, what kind of business are we looking at?
Well, it will be very simple. Any business I'll be giving 500,000 to 1 million to is a business that I can prove or that can convince me that if I give them this amount, they would increase, one, first of all, their revenue, two, their profitability, then three, they would increase the number of staff they have by at least 50%. Because if I do that to 1,300 businesses, then automatically, if, for example, they have 5 staff before, and now because I've given them 500,000, they will be increasing the number of employees they have by 50% every year for the next, I think the loan is over 5 years, 60 months, that's 5 years. Yes. That means they would have increased like 5 to 10 times in that period, which would drastically reduce unemployment in the economy. Today, we are almost at 40% according to KPMG. And so there is everything. It's also an emergency with the unemployment situation. So if that fund is directed in doing that, then the revenue base of the economy would have increased with all those SMEs. And then also the unemployment rate would have drastically reduced, which is a holistic approach to dealing with the economic challenge.
Okay, I kind of wonder, a business that requires 1 million naira to kickstart,
yes,
or 500,000 naira to start, the kind of staff strength that business is going to have, if that business is going to be operational in places like Lagos, or in place like Kano, or in place like Osun State, restaurant, is it the roadside, the one we normally call bookers?
Or they are, first of all, which is the most prevalent businesses presently in the country, services.
Okay.
Service-based outfits that offers like consulting, training, printing, branding,
okay,
all those kind of businesses. So if before I was doing it myself, you give me 500,000, I'm scaling, I need to get 2 more people to support me.
Okay.
So I have increased by 200% because I now have 2 more people, because I have to make enough money first to be profitable, then second to pay back my loan, and then thirdly, not just the loan, to also pay the interest on that loan. 9% might seem small compared to what the country is going through now, because the average rate, I think, present is about 25-26%, but 9% is still high. On a good day, it is the commercial banks that should be charging 9%, while the government should be somewhere around 5%. So 9% already is still high if we want the economy to grow, really. 25% is not it. And commercial loans should be single digits. That's where I'm going to.
Okay.
Because it's also a way of fighting inflation. As long as the commercial loans are double digits, inflation, the battle against inflation is still a long way ahead.
Okay. Before we go on a break, I would like to ask just a follow-up to that. Did the government, when put it out, do you think the government will start put into consideration the cost of doing business, that you need to get power, you need to get a space for that? And if it's about services business, there's going to be transportation that will take care of that. And this cost of doing business, are they not enough to take about 50%, 75% chunk of that money away from getting the actual resource to really run the business?
The average business needs capital injection and working capital.
Okay.
So at the start, capital injection is usually somewhere between 60 to 70%, while the working capital is somewhere between 30 and 40%. So yes, it will take a chunk of the money, but it is the capital injection that is now supposed to support the working capital in production of daily income.
Okay.
It is the daily income or monthly income that now produces the revenue for which they now pay their loans and run the business. So yes, it will take a chunk, but it's still okay. Question is, when you deal with MSMEs, small businesses, the usual, what I always request you focus on is structure, such that it can scale. If you set the right structure, because the funding is there in this case, then you know that business will survive the next 2 to 3 years, by which time they will be needing 2 to 3 times that amount that they got in the first, 2 to 5 times the amounts they got in the first place, which means they will now be hiring more people and increasing revenue, and there'll be more tax to be paid to government, which is something I think government should look at too, which is the taxation bit. Although I know there's a committee, of those businesses, there's a committee still working on that, but they should look at it too.
Okay, thank you very much. My conversation this morning has been with Ayo Emakiome, a financial expert, and we are looking at the economic plans that Mr. President reeled out recently when he had a nationwide broadcast. Let's go on a break with you for one. When we return, we'll continue our conversation, but that will be on the agricultural sector, which is quite large, quite big. And if we look at it from the aspect where Mr. President talked about 50 billions, it was just all about billions in that particular sector. So let's go on a break. And when we're back, we can take a look at that and see how agriculture, because the cost of food in Nigeria is in another level. We'll be back in a moment. It's on record where every word matters. Do stay with us.
If it's public opinion, expert analysis, information that matters to you, we have it on record Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. on High Impact 102.1 FM. Call us 0700-1021-1021. WhatsApp 0907-224-5018.
Madam, let me have my food, please. Oh boy, now
Hello. Excuse me. Come and buy what we are selling, oh. For Food Only Canteen FFO is now open every weekday. Yes, we sell off-white rice with tomato sauce, big jollof rice, off-cream fried rice, low budget ewagoy and bread, plus daily jara of special delicacies. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. only on High Impact 102.1 FM. FFO Canteen. With Trenches food, we stand.
People, make una go. Case dismissed. About this food should not be smaller.
Welcome to On Record.
Every word matters.
What I want to do is to take Nigeria from consumption to production.
My name is Mr. Innocent Chuboma. I started by trading on motorcycle spare parts.
They really ask, how much is the Nigerian life worth?
Policing is everybody's business, not the business of the men on uniform alone.
We will establish student loan 4 years course. Must be 4 years course.
When you dispense, a pharmacist dispenses a drug to a patient, the name of the drug must be written on the envelope.
On Record is a 45-minute program where we discuss the actions, inactions of government, ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as business and health affairs that shape our worldview.
Join us 9 a.m. every weekday on your urban lifestyle station, High Impact 102.1 FM. On Record.
Every word matters.
Good morning once again and welcome to the program. It's On Record where every word matters. My name once again is Oyin Priye Krumale. My conversation this morning has been with Ayo Emakiome, a financial analyst and a financial expert. We are looking at the economic. Recently, Mr. President, by virtue of his nationwide broadcast, said a lot about giving out money to manufacturing sector, the agricultural sector, the startup industries and so many, and the minimum wage to review it, which that will be next year, and the MSME sector too. I think we've taken a look at that, the transportation and what have you. So we are going to almost the final wrap of our conversation this morning, and let's go to agriculture. Is the big one, but before then, the lines are still open. Is 0700 1021 1021. That is 0700 1021 1021. And the number to send WhatsApp message is 0907 224 5018 0907 224 5018. Those are the numbers. So let's go to agriculture. The president highlighted significance that agriculture is quite significant in Nigeria's economy and unveiled plans to enhance funding for agricultural activities. So he talked about, the agriculture sector is also to receive the approval of 500 billion naira for all year-round farming on 500,000 hectares of farmland. How will this impact the sector, particularly after the state of emergency declared by the president on food production?
The all year-round farming, normally farming in the country has a lot to do with seasons. For example, there are some things you plant, some crops you plant during the dry season that you can't plant during the rainy season. And then there are some you can plant during the Harmattan period, and some it is in the rainy season that is better to plant them. Now, all year-round farming means most of these products will now be produced in such a way, or farmed in such a way, that there will be excess to last when they are supposed to be out of season. Usually when these products are out of season, they are expensive if they are available. But when we now have excess, that means the price will remain the same, be it in and out of season. So that's beautiful, because the underlying factor means that all year-round farming, everything we produce in excess, so that when they are not in season, they are still available, which also means that our storage systems will have to be activated. I remember
because I wanted to ask if we had any.
Not too long ago, we've had, but I think it was last year or so, one of the ministers was saying that, talking about the deplorable state of our food storage systems, which even before then, we all know that they are not modern. Because if they were modern, we'll be able to store things like banana, store things like fruits, or store things like tomatoes. But our storage system is not that advanced to be able to store such items. So, which is why 70% of such perishable items that are produced are even lost on the road while being carried to the market, while the rest are now lost in the market when they are not bought. We don't have a proper storage system, so that has to be worked on. Else, this plan somewhere along the line, which everything at the end of the day, every policy, the challenge for every policy is implementation. Will now be, how do we deal with it? You can farm all year round, but how does that now help the 70% of our goods that we usually lose between the farm and the market? If that still remains, then the policy doesn't work. All year round farming increases the volume of the 70%. We are losing. So revenue will still not be there. Then the infrastructure project, we've not said any definite way of how it will be worked. Because if not, most of the farms, the access to them from the farm to the to the market, the roads are almost unpassable. I know of a farm somewhere in is it Enugu now or Anambra State? Is a yam farm. It's very big, and the yam are wonderful, plus rice there. But between the farm and the main city is water, no road. So most times the villagers are left to eat their produce, which is produced in excess, and so all those ones go bad. What is that state going to do about it? Such that most of those produce are now being brought, because when this happens, it brings down the price of food items. The president has said he wants prices of food to be stable, that is affordable. But these are the emergency items that needs to be dealt with. It's not just about the production. It's about the value chain.
Let me take you. So in foreign climes, we were told, I know most of the things that Nigerians don't want to hear now is subsidy.
Yes, including me.
Yes. In foreign climes, food is subsidized in the production process because government participates actively, and you've mentioned one of the vital points, talking about putting storage facilities in place by way of storing these perishable goods. Still in these climes, government buys back some of the products that these people cannot sell. And of course, the infrastructure, like the river you talked about there, how can government come in to close these gaps? Because if they are not closed, if these gaps are not closed, the plan of Mr. President is just going to fall flat on its face, and it will be maintaining the status quo.
Well, the main thing there is communication. Then government doesn't buy back. What they do for those foreign crimes is they provide a guarantee that farmers go and sell your products and produce any quantity that you can.
Okay.
But let us, because they plan it,
all right,
let us know what quantity your farm can produce. So they already have an idea of the total production of each crop. Because each farm, I've said, this my farm can produce 10 tons, my farm can produce 5 tons, my farm can produce 1 ton. So they already have for everybody.
Okay.
So they know what they're expecting. Based on that, they now say, we are giving you a guarantee that if there's any excess, we will pay you for it. If there's any, so that, yes, it's more like buying back, but you know, it's slightly different from buying off
or taking it away.
It's a guarantee, which means that the first thing they need to do is try and go to the market, because they won't be buying it at the same price as what is being sold in the market. You get that?
Yes.
It will be slightly lower.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, which is why you now have to make sure you push it to the market first, so the government is now a fallback. And that will be a good policy to be introduced in Nigeria. But the challenge will still be the fact that the government will lose a lot of money if they do that now. Why? Like I said, 70% would have already been lost, which if government has said they are buying, there's nothing even left to buy.
Okay, no, the thing is, if government is going to be working at a loss, imagine how the private farmer would be working at a loss, loans from which he collected from the government.
Yes, but what we can do for all these things, the beauty of farming today is that technology is available for virtually everything. So it is time to deploy technology into the agri sector more massively than what they are doing. We have pockets of farms where they are introducing technology and using it, but those are the big farms. But most of our farms, the big farms are just like 10% of the farms we have in the country.
Okay.
Most of the farms are all the micro, small, subsistence farms. So it's time to manage them as clusters and deal with them using technology, from planting, from soil management to planting, to weather management, then to storage, and also to delivery.
Okay. Now, in this particular case, do you think the government have the data of these farms that fall within the category of the MSMEs and not the bigger farms like you talked about that uses technology to carry out their activities? This small farm, do you think the government have this data so they can have them in their system and plan around that data for effective implementation of this policy?
Data is power. Data is wealth. Now, the country presently does not even have the full data of their employees, not to now talk of full data of the farmers and companies that are available. So they need to actually refocus and look at those things. The true wealth of the country is about the data they have, because it guides a lot of things they do. But for now, I don't think they have that data. So, but even the same thing, if they deploy technology, that data will be gotten. But now the human element will always be there. Like even the president mentioned it, those forces will fight back.
Okay.
So we expect, I hope he has plans to deal with those forces when they are fighting back.
Okay, looking at CNG, compressed natural gas, and that's going to the aspect of transportation now, because I want us to run that one-on-one with it. So the government acknowledged the critical role of transportation infrastructure in driving economic activities. Significant investment will be made in road transportation by rolling out buses. Okay, I think you talked about those 3,000. But how can we have a transportation system that can access these farms to bring out these goods to the market? I'm even more keen about that particular community you mentioned about the big farmland, but cannot bring out their produce. And there's a governor of that state. Yes. They cannot claim ignorance of the awareness of that particular farm. Linking with the federal government, with the Ministry of Agriculture, So let's talk about transportation within that, in the value, in the chain.
In the chain. First of all, yes, he has said road, because road is what is readily available and a major means of transport in Nigeria. But I expect them to also divert funds, as in move funds into rail. We already have a rail system that the former administration has already worked on.
Okay.
Why can't we expand it and work on it? That's one. Although I know these are short-term emergency models that he's doing, which is why road that is already there, let's work with it. But rail is there. Then the waterway transport, like this community I mentioned now, what they need is a very effective and efficient water transportation system so that they can move their goods. But unlike what they do now is they use those canoes that can't carry much and they are not fast or doing anything.
Yes.
So I expect them to set up a water transport system. Nigeria is all surrounded by water all the way to the north. So why are we leaving that? It should be part of the plans, that there should be a very effective and efficient water transport system that will now aid many of these communities, like those also in the creeks that produce things like rice and coal, to move them to town. Because why should I move my volumes of rice, yam by road when I can take them through the water, which even keeps them in good condition?
Hello, good morning. Just a moment. Good morning. Welcome to On Record. What's
good
your
morning.
Yes, your name and where you're calling us from, please?
All right, I'm Deji, calling you from Ikorodu.
Thank you. Welcome, Deji. Please go on.
All right, I want to ask now, talking about agriculture. Now, for the farms, one of the major problems that has been bedeviling these farmers is insecurity. They have herdsmen invading these farms and all that. So I just want to ask, what can the president do, to solve this farmers, herders clashing and all that? People invading farms and, scattering all these things.
Okay. Thank you very much, Deji. Mr. Ayo, you want to respond to
that? Farmers and herders clash is federal government. The previous administration has said they will not support or they do not allow such, and whoever does that should be dealt with. So they've moved it from their position now to the states. What are the states doing about it? Because at the end of the day, they are localized problems.
Localized problem, but the state does not have security might to deal with that.
The state, it is still a state problem. That's why some states where it has even reduced, they pass laws saying we do not support this, we do not allow it. Anybody that does this will be sanctioned. For example, some states, I think like is it Edo State, they've stopped open grazing. Yes. You cannot carry your you cannot carry your animals out, put them in a ranch. And it has drastically reduced the farmer herder clashes.
Don't you think the states will need a state police to actually implement those? Because it doesn't look like the federal police is doing much in that regards. And there are criminals operating under the guise of what have you to threaten farmers.
A state police is a neither here nor there issue, because people talk for and people talk against, and both people are correct. So it is something that we now need to critically examine and decide what is the way forward. Is the country as a whole, looking at the current developments, ready for state police?
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, we are out of time, so I just want us to sign up and move now. But just one last question within 1 minute. This thing about giving these goods to 125 billion to nano businesses, to other businesses, 75 billion naira will go to manufacturing. There could be allegations, or people are started looking at that. Where are these monies going to? Are they going to go to politicians or those who belong to XYZ political parties? How would the government come up with such names and give that money out for that purpose?
That's why, like I said earlier, that it's important that it's a 100% transparent process where we know not just the company that is being given the money, but the people behind the company. Who are they and why were they selected as people that get this money? Then there should be some level of transparency in how the money is being implemented, where I expect there will be milestone payments of this money based on whatever kind of business or projects they are carrying out, and all this should be transparent, should be out there in the open. That will drastically ensure that the right thing is done with the funds gotten.
All right. Well, that's what we'll draw the curtain, like he said. But we have a call, but we cannot take that call anymore because we are out of time. Thank you so much for wanting to call in. Next week is another time for On Record. My name once again is Oyinpriye Krumali, and special thanks to Ayo Emakiome, the financial expert and financial analyst who came live to the studio this morning to talk to us about the president's recent broadcast on the Nigerian economy. Till I come your way again tomorrow, do have yourself a splendid weekend.